Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Morning Musings. You've only got me for a couple more days. Today is Thursday, and so you have me for today and tomorrow, and then Don will be back next Monday to bring you your regularly scheduled programming. I'm so thankful for him for letting me stand in. It's been a blast, and I hope to be able to come back and make these videos next time that the opportunity arises. Today we're going to be focused on the church at Laodicea, Revelation chapter 3, and verse 20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone, he says, hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and will dine with him and he with me. He who overcomes, I will grant to him to sit down with me on my throne, as I also overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. Got a lot to unpack here, but I hope that you'll bear with me. First off, it says that Jesus stands at the door and knocks. This may be a reference to the imminency of the Lord. When I think about it, I think of Matthew 24, verses 32 and following, 32 through 33. And I also think about James chapter 5, verses 8 through 10, both of which say that the judge stands at the door. This also could be a reference to simply the proximity of Jesus, that he is not far from any one of us, as Paul would say in Acts chapter 17. Regardless, I think the main point of this passage is this, that whoever would let him in would be able to sit at the table with him and dine with him. This theme of the Messianic banquet, as I'm sure that you've heard before, is prevalent in many passages concerning eschatology. Isaiah 25, Matthew chapter 8, Matthew chapter 22, Luke 14, as well as Revelation chapter 19. The subject of the Messianic banquet is one that has to do with the resurrection. It's a banquet to celebrate the marriage of the bride and the Lamb, his victory over death, the salvation of all those who believe in him, and the resurrection of the saints, as seen in Isaiah 25. The same passages that talk about the Messianic banquet in the Old Testament are often quoted from in the New Testament to discuss the subject of resurrection. Particularly, Isaiah 25 is quoted from in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Elsewhere, such as in Matthew chapter 8, the subject of resurrection is closely linked to that of the subject of this divine banquet. For we're told in Matthew chapter 8 that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob would sit down at the table in the kingdom with all of these who are coming from the east and the west. In Luke 14, we find that the resurrection of the just and the unjust is the time when the wedding banquet takes place. And it's closely linked, of course, to Matthew 22, where we see that the resurrection banquet takes place when the city that rejected Jesus was destroyed. When we come to the book of Revelation, in Revelation chapter 19, the Messianic banquet happens when the city that was guilty of persecuting all the saints and all the prophets and the apostles was burned down. That banquet is celebrated at the marriage of the Lamb and the bride in Revelation chapter 19. Now, we've done this before, we're going to do it again. Revelation 1, Revelation 22. The things in the book of Revelation were at hand and would happen quickly. Since, therefore, the banquet would happen quickly, Revelation chapter 3, resurrection would happen quickly, since the resurrection takes place at the time of the Messianic banquet. In fact, the Messianic banquet being a celebration of the resurrection, as you can see in those several passages that I mentioned to you already. The second thing that we see in this passage, in Revelation chapter 3, is the blessing. He who overcomes, I will grant to him to sit down with me on my throne, as I also overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. What did Jesus overcome? The prince of this age, he says in the book of John. He overcame be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. He also overcame rejection and persecution and various forms of tribulation. The saints in the book of Revelation are overcoming much of the same thing. They're overcoming this tribulation that they're in. They're overcoming death by being raised with the Messiah, as we've seen in every single blessing offered to the seven churches, from the first to the last. In fact, the book of Revelation has the key theme of resurrection. I say key theme because in Revelation 1, Jesus is introduced as holding the keys of death and Hades. So that's why he says, to him who overcomes, I do this, I do that, I do this. In Revelation chapter 5, Jesus is pictured as the Lion of the tribe of Judah, while at the same time being pictured as the Lamb of God who overcame by being slain. You see, the picture of the lion matches the traditional expectations of the Messianic kingdom. It's going to conquer, it's going to destroy, it's going to beat back Rome and spread over the whole world. Whereas the lamb symbol reveals the true nature of the kingdom. Though it has the power and strength and courage and nobility of a lion, it's as gentle and as docile and as meek and as submissive as a lamb. It shows the paradox of the kingdom of heaven. At the same time being the most mighty force on earth, it's also the most gentle and the most loving and the most caring. While having the potential to call in tens of thousands of angels, it decides to turn the other cheek and to be sacrificed and choose the path of nonviolence. While being able to simply say some words and receive all the kingdoms of the world, it chooses to be ridiculed and to be rejected by his own brothers and sisters for being foolish. So the overcoming of Revelation chapter 3 and verse 21 is tied directly to the subject of resurrection. I overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. You can sit down with me on mine and my Father's throne. This is the promise of Jesus to the saints at Laodicea that would overcome as Jesus had overcome. The only way they would overcome is if they would turn the other cheek, is if they would put down the sword, is if they would trust in the message of the gospel of kingdom, of peace and gentleness and patience. All right? So that's the 7 churches. It's pretty neat, huh? Every overcoming blessing is related to the subject of resurrection. I said it before, I'll say it again. Since the things in Revelation were at hand, that means that resurrection was at hand. Thank you so much for joining me in today's morning musing. Shorter than the others, but I'll let you off easy on this Thursday morning. Hope you have a great day and that the Lord blesses you in all that you do. Thank you.